What up, YouTube? It's High Level MMA, and I'm back with another tutorial video. In a previous video, I went over the basic fundamentals of defense against pressure fighters. This time I want to actually show how to do the pressuring yourself correctly. There's a few key things you need to remember when pressuring fighters that you got to keep in mind mid-fight, otherwise the opponent will capitalize on your mistakes, and I'm going to show those things now. I know this is going to sound funny since this whole tutorial is basically about pressuring people or walking people down, but you guys need to remember when to back up. You need to constantly remember to back up just enough space in order to be consistent enough with your strikes. So all in all, rule number one, back up when necessary while pressuring in order to set up your next attack and to avoid unnecessary shots on your block. Alright, so in this clip right here, I'm Charles Oliveira going up against Justin Gaethje. Now, my initiative of this fight was to pressure him, but he decided to flip the script. Now, like we spoke about before inside the defense of pressure, if he's walking into your pocket, there's no need for me to be moving forward, and that's the reason he just got caught with an uppercut. At the same time, I'm keeping the distance, correcting my distance with my teeps, my body kicks, my front leg side kicks, and we're just picking our shots correctly. Now, I'm using proper head movement. I'm not giving him too much that he can read me on. As he tries to walk me down, we're trusting the block. We try and flip the script. The minute we back up and he retreats, we're going to follow him. So right there, we're just picking our shots. He's still coming forward because he's trying to force a drop. He goes for a spinning elbow. We pull counter, hit the elbow with ourselves. We get a nice flying knee rock. Go for the takedown just to keep that wrestling threat. That's a later tip that we're going to get into. And he quit, dog. Certain fighters don't have all weapons necessary to protect your pocket, such as front kicks and body teeps. So distance corrections are important. Now, like I said before, when pressuring your opponent and backing up in order to set up your shots and avoid shots on your block, you want to immediately go back to pressuring your opponent. What tends to happen is you'll back up and end up giving too much room when you have an advantage. That can cost you the fight, especially in late rounds. So rule number two, don't forget the game plan of pressure. Back up when necessary, but go as soon as you recover or play your next strike. Now in this clip right here, I'm Justin Gaethje going up against Rafael. You can see we hit him with a nice uppercut from the single underclinch, and we get a drop. We're just trying to continue the pressure right here. We're using the head movement to avoid his jab, and that jab is to get us to back up. And this is what pressuring is all about. You have to use the proper things in order to keep the fight tight. So right here, as he backs up, we're following him. If he retreats, we're following him. And the minute he pushes us, we're going to take the necessary backup. So right here, he kind of gave me the impression that he wanted to, do some cheese. I gave him an elbow right back. Then here comes the cheese, spinning elbow. So he's kind of coming forward here. Now, once he starts coming forward, I just want you guys to look at my movement. I'm not going forward at all. I'm just planning on my shots. Right there, he's kind of moving back. We follow him. We knock him with a jab. So this is what distance corrections is all about. We get a head kick KO, and he rage quits. He quit. He go to sleep. He couldn't take the pressure. Rule number three is definitely shot selection. When pressuring another fighter, you want to make sure the attacks you're throwing are predictable, and you want to mix it up. Even faking attacks from the outside can help you work your way into the pocket. Not feint, but fake. Hide your actual strike behind another. Another huge tip is using hooks and kicks to cut off the cage from your opponent. Certain attacks can cut the cage for you instead of footwork. So rule number three, have proper shot selection. All right, in this clip right here, we're going up against a high-level Ilia Topuria. We throw respect, and we immediately take the center of the cage. He took a minute to grab his controller, so he throws out two jabs and then decides to work the body and then work the legs. Now, immediately as he walks me down, I make my distance correction. He's walking us down. We don't need to move. And with proper shot selection, this fight could be over quick. All you got to do is just pick your shots. And if you potentially rock him, work a different part of the body to get a finish or get a drop. Right there, we get a pull counter. He thinks we're going to go to the body. We get a nice uppercut left hook. We drop him. We get the GNP for the finish. Now, that's all proper shot selection. Now, rule number four is establishing your jab. Now, there are plenty of forms of pressure when it comes to ranked UFC. You got wrestling pressure, clinch pressure, and striking pressure. Sometimes you get all three. In my opinion, it's always best to establish range and timing on a simple jab to set up your shots and control pace. If your opponent has a jab in their face all night, whether it's hitting their block or not, most players will block, back up, or both. Either way, you're now setting the pace in your favor. It's up to you to capitalize on their retreat. Once your jab is established, every other attack leads to success. All right, so in this clip right here, I ended up running into an Ilya Taporia that had a dub on me, and we ended up getting the dub back on him. And the fight was pretty good, so I figured I'd use this fight right here to as an example to show how to establish a jab. So we're gonna get into that right now. All right, so the fight starts off pretty fast paced right away. As you can see, he comes out throwing a whole bunch of combos, and for the most part, we're trying to match the pace, but not with combos, more so just our jab. The jab is always going to be in his face, whether he likes it or not. Even if I'm not hitting his block, that was a preemptive slip right there, or a preemptive pull. He went to pull his head back when you should slip a jab. Now he's slipping. Now, as soon as we have our opponent slipping, you want to attack the other part of the body because head movement is something they'll use to avoid that pressure. Now, once they start moving their head, that's your turn to attack another part of the body, hence, the body. So right here, we're just walking them down. And at the same time, we're keeping everything tight. We're trying to use proper distance corrections. We're using right sock selection. And we get a nice rock and drop. So right there, we try to finish the fight. He ends up moving his head pretty well. And he has Ilya Taporia right now, so we use a fake to get back up to the feet. And we continue on our shot selection. Now, as you can see right about here, he's using these uppercuts as well as he can. That's just the weapon that he's constantly putting out there that's his threat back to me. He's using the uppercut to avoid the body shots. Now, what we're doing right here is just keeping our jab on him. We're making him move that head. If he doesn't want to move the head, he'll either block, back up, or both. Either way, if he sits in the pocket, his block will drain. Now, right about here, we're just keeping the fight as tight as we possibly can while I was trying to stay defensively responsible as we can. He's throwing a lot of uppercuts now because of our shot selection. He sees that we're honed in on that body. He's trying to still slip us, trying to pull counter us, gets caught with a straight right there, left hook right there. And we're just keeping the pace nice and tight. Still working the body. He's still throwing those uppercuts. And just take a look at his stamina. With proper pace, proper shot selection, and proper distance correction, this is how bad it can get in round one of going up against somebody that understands how to pressure fight. I don't normally tend to fight like this because a lot of people get flustered and frustrated, and you see we get the KO. Now, rule number 5 is a wrestling threat. This is my favorite rule to establish next to the jab. Now, when pressuring fighters, the most successful threat to have them drop their hands completely is a takedown. Even if you yourself don't want to wrestle, your opponent seeing consistent, naked, or set-up shot will lead to them guard switching, giving you an opening on the feet. You can also use the head movement and counter with a takedown instead of punches to demoralize them and trick them into being a complex fight. Once you stand back up, they'll respect your takedowns, giving you openings with the hands. Now, rule number 5 is a wrestling threat. In this clip right here, I'm using Charles Oliveira going up against Justin Gaethje, and my whole initiative is to threaten him with a takedown. So we fake the body. He gives us an instant uppercut, and he starts standing still trying to correct his distance. He gives us 2 jabs expecting us to back up, and right here he just starts kind of winging a couple shots. Evident that he just wants us to move away from him. He starts letting his whole stamina bar go, and he's just going. He's just going. So as he backs up, we're increasing our shot selection, and we get a nice takedown. And this right here is taking away his striking morale. It's just giving him the impression that we don't want to strike with him. He flips us over right here into full guard. We end up threatening him with a triangle as he tries to get up. He has absolutely no stamina, but he did a good job defending. Ended up getting side control and letting us back up. We get back to the feet, and it's the same initiative. Threaten with a takedown and establish a jab. So that way you can keep the pace and control the rhythm. He starts guard switching. Boom. Hit him with a nice jab right there. We threaten with another single leg. He defends properly and gets off. Right here we have backside. He must have took me down or something. He let us go. We threaten with a body hook. He sends an uppercut right after, a late uppercut. We feint a jumping head kick right here and just get a nice takedown. Right here he tries to go up. We deny him. He ends up taking our back right here and goes instantly back to the feet. And that's clear that he doesn't want any smoke down there. Until he did this, he shot back. Now, if you have Justin Gaethje shooting on Charles Oliveira, you're doing something right. Continue what you're doing. Round 2 came,
Nice.
and it's
Nice.
pretty evident that he doesn't know what to do on the floor. So we start opening up with our hands. Now, right about here, he goes for another shot. It's pretty clear that he doesn't know what he's doing. We trip him. He ends up getting denied twice right here, and I put him in an arm triangle, and I did end up putting him to sleep. So GG's to my opponent. If you guys do like more videos like this, though, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be sure to, post more tips and tricks for in the future.
I don't think you
For sure.
realize that I put him in
Damn, BT.